Hello, all. Today we'll be discussing chapter 10, which goes over relationships and social development.
Historically, parents are heavily influenced by culturally informed values and beliefs about the experiences and relationships essential for their child to become a well functioning member of society. This results in different styles in parenting. Proximal parenting is characterized by constant physical contact and swift responses to a baby's needs. Distal parenting encourages independence through verbal interaction and exploration of objects. And through these social interactions, dyadic synchrony is developed, which is where caregiver infant interactions synchronize in mutual attention and effective regulation. This synchrony facilitates sensory processing, self regulation, and allowing the infant to feel like they influence their environment. Parental sensitivity, which is the degree to which a parent is receptive and responsive to their child's needs, is an important factor in development, influenced by cultural beliefs, which has been studied through differences in parent involvement, and this is further influenced by factors like socioeconomic status and discrimination. Postpartum depression is a mood disorder characterized by a sense of despair and sadness so pervasive that it affects their ability to care for and interact effectively with their baby. The most severe effects of postpartum depression for mothers typically occur during the first 6 months after giving birth, affecting 8 to 15% of new mothers. When diagnosing postpartum depression, clinicians assess changes in mood, sleep, appetite, energy, concentration, decisiveness, and the ability to feel pleasure in daily life. Warning signs also include feelings of worthlessness, despair, and thoughts about harming oneself or the baby. Culture can play a part in the development of postpartum depression as well, as women in certain contexts are more likely to suffer from depression if they experience chronic health problems, domestic violence, or lack of participation in family decisions, or when they are blamed for giving birth to daughters in a culture that strongly prefers sons. Effects of maternal depression can be observed in infants beginning at birth. Compared with infants of non depressed caregivers, infants born to mothers who were depressed during pregnancy are less likely to show the typical preference for their mother's face or voice. Counseling, psychotherapy, and antidepressant or anti anxiety medication can relieve some forms of depression. Bowlby's theory of attachment is a theory describing the attachment relationship that develops over the first year of life between infants and their caregivers. He asserted that human infants possess built in attachment behaviors such as crying, cooing, smiling, looking at, and reaching for or moving toward caregivers that attract attention and elicit care. Mary Ainsworth expanded on this idea, reflecting on characteristics of sensitive mothers in their relationships with their children. Children who showed secure attachment behaviors had more sensitive mothers. This was observed through the strained situation procedure, where researchers observe how the infant behaves in a series of episodes designed to elicit increasing levels of stress and weariness. If the baby becomes distressed, researchers note the degree to which the caregiver is used as an effective source of comfort. Four attachment styles have been observed and expanded upon within the research. Secure attachment, which is a relationship that develops when caregivers respond quickly and sensitively to their infant's signs of distress and other attachment behaviors. Insecure avoidant attachment, which may develop when caregivers are overstimulating and intrusive when interacting with their infants. Insecure resistant attachment, which may develop when caregivers are rejecting or withdrawn, depressed, and unresponsive to infants' needs and attachment behaviors. Disorganized, disoriented attachment, which may develop when caregivers show contradictory, disrupted, or unusual emotional communication with their infants. Attachment security affects children's expectations of other relationships and how they interact with new individuals, with securely attached children exploring their environment freely, coping better with stress, and adjusting easier to school.
Good afternoon or good morning. I am Jasmine Mumphrey, and I will be continuing our presentation as we move toward relationships, but still keeping in mind about secure attachment and what that looked like as we move towards sibling relationship, peer relationship, and friendships. There is a significant amount of information found in our assigned text reading, and I will be very brief as we discuss sibling relationship being a horizontal relationship that varies along three basic dimensions. On page 259, we see that it discusses symmetry, closeness, and voluntariness when it comes to the difference between siblings, peers, and friendships. So I advise everyone to look at that amazing chart 10.3 that's found in our assigned reading to get more information to distinguish between those relationships. But as we discuss sibling relationship, we see that there is an existing system in place, and that is found through the firstborn. And as another child is introduced, that existing system changes and it evolves. And parents have the duties to adapt to a new system by using a variety of means to influence children's interactions and then tailor those methods to each child's developmental level, their personalities, and their individual needs. And this affects the quality of sibling interactions. Through research, we see that sibling interactions are both intensively positive and intensely negative. But the key point in this is children's early experiences and family conflicts contributes to their understanding of others' feelings, their thoughts, and actions. Additionally, siblings interactions are also linked to children's ability to cope with stressful life events. And now, as we move towards sibling and peer relationships and the differ between it, the three basic dimensions symmetry, closeness, and voluntariness, we see that there is less emotional intensity among peers and friends in comparison to siblings in the closeness dimension. We also see that in peer relationships and friendships, they're typically based on a mutual positive feeling of and choice with interaction that is characterized by more cooperation and flexibility than are truer of the most sibling interactions. And lastly, let's discuss friendship with this, which is not too much of a difference with peership. But again, we see that at a very young age, children have the capacity to form friendships that involve companionship, mutual affection, intimacy, and closeness. And children show their compatibility and mutual preference by spending significant amount of time together and by achieving a high level of interaction whenever social contact is made. There is also evidence that very young children peer preferences tend to be stable. Toddlers who are friends tend to be similar in their activity levels, their interaction styles, and social skills. And the big takeaway, um, as I conclude and wrap this up, is children are born ready to form attachments, relationships with those who care for them. An infant's caregiving history influence their relationships that they develop within family and outside the home.
The article that our group has selected to accompany the information covered in the textbook is a longitudinal study of maternal postnatal bonding and psychosocial factors that contribute to social emotional development. This study focused on understanding the importance of the mother baby bond and how it affects the physical, psychological, and social development of the baby through analyzing postnatal bonding and maternal sensitivity. Bonding is also associated with maternal care and the mother's interaction with the baby. It is important to consider the type of prenatal bond because the type of bond that develops affects the child's communication, gross and fine motor skills, and problem solving and personal social skills. An affectionate bond between a mother and child can play an important role in the child's developmental outcomes. For example, in a secure relationship, the mother and child value closeness and have affectionate interactions with each other, whereas When distant and expressions of rejections are expressed, this is perceived as painful. The factors that can impair the development of maternal bonding include maternal mood disturbances and perceived stress. For example, it could be seen that depressed mothers had difficulties regulating their emotions, were less sensitive, and had more problems with postnatal bonding with their child when their child was 6 to 8 months old. The study adds to research from previous studies through investigating the pre and postnatal mother baby bond and investigating how a mother's relationships within and outside the family are related to a child's social emotional problems at the age of 2. This study was based on the child sleep birth cohort, which was set up to study children's health, development, and sleep quality. Measurement points from this study were taken at 2 different periods of time. The first was at about the 32nd week of pregnancy, and the second was followed up at the 3, 8, 18, and 24-month post-delivery mark. The sample was collected systematically during 2011 through 2013 with families from southern Finland. The prenatal data comprised of 1,667 families, and a total of 943 families returned the prenatal and 3, 8, and 24-month postnatal questionnaires. A variety of questionnaires and scales were used to assess children and mothers during this study. These include the Global Measure of Perceived Stress, the GMPS to measure stress, the Brockington's Postpartum Bonding Questionnaire, the PBQ to measure mother bonding, baby bonding disturbance, and the Brief Infant Toddler Social and Emotional Assessment, the BITSEA, to measure the social emotional problems of a 2-year-old child.
The study investigated the impact of prenatal bonding, postnatal bonding, and maternal relationships on a child's social emotional development at the age of 2, controlling for demographic factors, prenatal depression, and stress. The sample consisted of mothers with a mean age of 30.7, mostly expecting their first child, and with higher education levels than the general population. Results showed that impaired bonding at the 3 and 8 months, negative expectations related to taking care of the baby, and negative adult relationships were associated with increased social emotional problems in 2-year-old children. These associations remained significant even after controlling for prenatal depression and stress. Furthermore, both pre and postnatal bonding were significant risk factors for child development. Children with bonding difficulties at 3 and 8 months showed more social emotional problems at 2 years. Maternal relationships, both within and outside the family, also played a significant role in child's social emotional development. The study suggests the importance of providing support for mothers, particularly those at risk, to improve bonding and parenting skills, ultimately benefiting the child's development. Additionally, demographic factors like maternal age and poverty were associated with social emotional problems in children, highlighting the role of experience in childcare.
Thank you so much for watching. Please let us know if you have any questions.